Welcome back, fellow armchair generals, to Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.6. And I am Gamer1745. We're continuing playing as Germany here, of course. I hope you will all enjoy this. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel so you don't lose where you found these great videos. Okay, Commando Rohil. Rohel? I don't know. Named after the commander of the group. Him. It was a specialized reconnaissance force that often, as I say, fly mission over neutral countries, but also over countries that are soon to not be neutral, like Poland or the Soviet Union. Did that throughout the war. Basically, it's going to cost some supplies and metal. Damn, I know I made it, but and because although this isn't the day, this is before the days really of radar. The only people really doing radar at this point is Britain, but still they're not entirely unnoticed. So some of our nearby neighbors currently that are being reconnaissance are going to be upset with us. We'll lose a little bit of manpower, but we'll gain a small OOB of units. So yeah. Where did they show up? And there we are. So we're going to attach that straight to Goring at the top there. So some light bombers to do reconnaissance with, if you wish. Karl Hermann Frank is promoted to SS Gruppenführer and appointed Secretary of State of the Reich Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia under the Reich Protector Konstantin von Neurath. Himmler also named, just taking a drink, also named him the Protectorate's higher SS and police leader of the Protectorate, making him the ranking SS officer in Bohemia and Moravia. So we're going to appoint him. I think there'll be some, there's going to be a later office thing, I believe, coming up. But like I've said before, he's a nasty person. They, I think, hung him after the war. The Czechs did. Well-deserved hanging, too. Okay, para HQs advanced, that's good. We'll just cancel that. I've shifted a bunch more leadership over to officers because we've taken that all. I'm pretty sure it was all those because the disbanding should do that. All these HQs are fully manned and they all require lots of officers. So that hit us pretty hard. And study for para HQ level 1. Yes, Falsenjäger, yay. And we need another HQ over in East Prussia. transport. Okay, the third international winter sports watch in 1939 in place of the Olympics held. I think a bit fewer nations this year, but helps us along. Now, I want to look at, well, here, radar station. Seven ICs, May. May isn't that, well, it's a few months away. Well, okay, we're gonna do that. I'm really wanting to get more production going. Maybe I didn't do enough. Well, I did lots of ICs, so we're right now running at effectively 590 ICs. That's a lot. No, consumer goods are taking up a big hit here. Upgrades are doing a lot. And who can we sell? Yeah, let's sell some more. Bank for International Settlement. Yes, we want to do the 400 supplies. Gain money. 4,000 supplies, sorry. Yeah. And the 4% of IC increase, that's really good. I mean, money's nice. I like the additional bonus, but oh, we just got that, didn't we? Give them fuel for money. Sure, you can have the fuel. Okay, come on, yeah. Okay. Stop things. Stop. Okay. We stole some British blueprints. Well, good. Ground attack efficiency to level 4. Something we had been doing, so we're no longer good. That bumped us up. I think we were studying. Yeah. That. Okay. That's good. And that. Okay. Airbase blueprints and motorized HQ has advanced, which I think we noticed down here. Airbase and motorized. Canceling that. Good. And very good. The delay between attacks is the best thing of all of that. I mean, there's good benefits. Okay. Ribbentrop in Warsaw. Visiting Reich Foreign Minister Jakob von Ribbentrop, who I still haven't placed in charge yet. During the discussions of the requirements of the German minister with Joseph Beck, remember he visited Berchtesgaden not so long ago, does not agree with them, which allows, agrees with the plans. I could write that better. For only Germans to provide far-reaching transit facilities through Pomerania. Basically, in this sort of the map of a part of Danzig or something they're looking over. But what they're trying to, well, what Hitler's really trying to do is get a reason to go to war with Poland that everybody will agree with. Since he didn't get a reason to go to war with Czechoslovakia, he wants to go to war with Poland now to have his training war. But he's trying to manufacture this out. Danzig is its own free city. Most all the institutions are controlled by Germans. The post office and a couple other things are controlled by the Poles. But it's mostly German. What they're trying to do here is, theoretically, is negotiate a corridor through here that would be German, that would then but still have, and German controlled, but they would still allow coming in from Gdansk, or no, Gdynia, up here, as well as maybe through Danzig too, but a transit corridor, that that they could do. Now, of course, if this whole little territory here is turned over to Germany, it can be closed at a moment's notice, where if the Polish army's sitting around here keeping it open, it can't be without going, real military action. I suspect that if the Poles agreed to this, the demands would get a bit bigger and a bit more, because Hitler wants a war. So is there going to be peace? Okay. Opel AG, a subsidiary of the GM Corp. Okay. Adam Opel AG is a German automobile manufacturer headquartered in Rosenheim, Hesse, Germany. That's where the Hessian soldiers came from, to you Americans who know your Revolutionary War history. A subsidiary of General Motors Company. GM's chairman, A. Sloan, states GM German operations are highly profitable. By the spring of 1939, the German government had assumed day-to-day control of the American-owned factories in Germany, but decided against nationalizing them completely. Should we nationalize them to keep the profits in Germany, or keep relations with the American management to improve our production knowledge? And I know that the U.S. was exporting its production knowledge, including at this time some factories that they were setting up in the Soviet Union that were set up very much in the American way, that really allowed for very rapid, very effective production. Huge facilities, including setting up, and not to some degree the managerial sort of people set up, but also just building the buildings, so the workflow through. And I forget whether this was a tractor factory or a truck factory, or maybe it was even a tank or some sort of factory that they were doing in Russia as part of the subsidiary that they were setting up that was going to be Soviet owned. They were just sort of getting paid to set the thing up. So I'm very much presuming that from this thing, the U.S. is with GM for Opel, Ford for Ford in Germany, was doing it so we can keep working with GM, lose some money, we can afford that, improve relations with the U.S., that's good, or we can nationalize it, gain some money, and piss people off and loot now. So we're gonna go with that. Keep allowing, and so you got to realize what's going on here to some degree, and I don't know how much is going on in the sense that how much the money that they're letting out of the country. And I just don't know for Germany, but I know that there are how do I put this? Different nations have different requirements. Sometimes they will allow you to make all kinds of money that you want, but they have restrictions on the money leaving the country. Not that you necessarily can't take it out, but they'll tax it higher, or maybe that you can't take it out. But you can invest it into whether more manufacturing, or just I don't know, buy property, or buy other investments that to put the money into locally. I also know in the U.S., because right now, as I'm making this video right now, not right now in the game, but right now, there's huge amounts of U.S. corporate money sitting overseas, because the money is already, say maybe GM I don't know who, but whatever, or it could be a pharmaceutical companies or whatever it is. But let's say GM sold a bunch of cars in France and made in a French-based GM factory, or like we can do, Opel or whatever in Germany today. Made that, sold a bunch of cars, paid the local corporate income taxes, paid all of that money, and it's now sitting there. If it's moved back to the U.S., they've got to pay income tax on it again. And the U.S., basically, of the industrialized world, basically has the highest corporate income tax rate, higher than Sweden's, so they have the highest corporate income tax rate in the U.S., just so you overseas people know. But in Americans, if you don't pay attention, you can know too. So their corporate rates are really high. So they've already paid it in Germany, and now if they move it back, they got to pay it again, the profit, because it's all profits coming back in at the highest rate. There's a lot of negotiations to get it down to where that they'll pay maybe 5 or 10% or something, maybe 15%. I don't know. Taxes. The government wants some amount of money, but if that were to flood back into the U.S., they could take that corporate money and could just raise everybody's salaries who work in a U.S. factories. That's what they could do. They probably wouldn't, but they could do that. They could give it out as their, shareholders, handed out money to their shareholders. And if you think, oh, that's just a bunch of fat cats, for companies like GM and a lot of these other major companies, the largest shareholders are unions, not necessarily, maybe their own union, but other unions have pension funds, that huge pension funds that own sizable chunks of these massive, big companies as just investments, because it may be auto workers, union pension funds have invested in pharmaceutical companies, or drug making companies, or something, so it's diversified. So it's not just within one industry, and so which would pay off the unions to help pay for the pension funds for all of the pension people, in there. So it's not just rich people, it's everyday people. Or they may take that money that comes in and build another factory, or upgrade their current factory, or do something else that creates more jobs. Because even if they're just upgrading their factory, you got to buy the upgrades and you got to do this stuff, kinds of improvements, and that's going to employ more people. And so there's, a lot of good that would happen in the U.S., and these companies are waiting for this to happen, thinking that it's going to happen under Trump, the changes in the tax code. This is what they're sort of thinking they were going to do after health care, but I don't know. And so they're sort of waiting. If they sort of knew that, it's going to be 4 or 8 years or more of the Democrats, and this wasn't going to happen because Democrats are more ideological than practical, they would think about reinvesting the money into improving a German factory or a French factory, or investing in land, or doing something with that money, but that wouldn't be ready to be returning it to the U.S. anytime soon. That's what they would be thinking about doing, but they're hoping to have it done soon, so it's sitting liquid to come over. Now, at this time period, when this is going on in 1939, the personal income tax rate is at 90% or more for rich people. Now, I say for rich people because the income tax does have, I'm not sure at this time period what the minimum is, but does sort of have a minimum. But let's just throw out a number, $10,000, and this, don't hold me to this. If you make $10,000 a year, I'm going to say at this time period, you're probably paying 40% tax in, and I'll look into a lot of this stuff because it's something that people need to understand better when I do the American mod. But let's just say because $10,000 was a lot of money back in 1939. You're making $10,000, you're paying 40% on it. Okay. Then money made over $10,000, let's say you're making somebody's making $50,000, but the $40,000 on it over $50,000, you're paying, say, 60% tax on that money. And then basically, I think if I remember correctly, any money made over $100,000, so if you go from, say, $90,000 to $110,000, any money paid over $90,000, you're paying like 90 or 95% tax on it. So if you get $1 million come in, $1 million, 90%, you're getting, the first $100,000 is at these various grade levels up there. But let's say it's $1,100,000. Basically, you're getting $200,000 because, or well, less the other tax money. So, but you're getting, say, $150,000. The government is taking all of the rest of that, would be $950,000 away from you. That's the tax rate during this time period. It is hugely oppressive. So there is massive reasons not to make more money. And I do know that the government, don't know the details of it, but I do know the government corporate rates were also very heavy. So they may not want to bring too much money back to the U.S. but they might want to, say, make their German, the GM Opel company, let's open up an Argentine factory or something with that money. A lot of screwy stuff going on, and I'm going to get into the there were, between World War I and World War II, there were two depressions. One was known as the Great Depression. The other depression everyone forgot about because it lasted for about 18 months. It was really bad. And when it was a really bad depression, I think either 1922 or 1924. I'm sorry, you know me, I'm not that good on dates. But it was a really bad depression that hit. There was massive collapse. I think maybe not quite as big a collapse as the the 1929 that eventually, the stock market collapse that eventually with Roosevelt gets into the Great Depression. But it was a massively bad depression. It was, it just really hit and really wrecked a huge number of businesses. So many people lost their jobs. It was just really traumatic. And I know another YouTube blogger, don't need to use his name, but he said, should have screwed the New Deal and just let capitalism fail. Yeah, I mean that's an option. Like talking the earlier depression that hit, and the government, when this happened, you know what it did? When this massive depression hit, nothing. Just did absolutely nothing. And within 18 months it was over, done. And we had the period of what was called the Roaring 20s, because it was the best economic time America has ever seen. Because the government did nothing. The Great Depression was great and so long-lasting is because of government controls. Okay? Government controls. Now, I will fully admit, that there were a bunch of government programs to feed needy people, because what happened coinciding with the Great Depression was also the Great Dust Bowl, which didn't happen earlier, and that's when a huge amount of this part of America had been farmed for a few generations, like you farm in Europe. Okay, farmed like you farm in Europe. I was shocked when I was going through school and found out that famines in England, in the Middle Ages or the Renaissance or whatever, was caused by rain. Rain would fall, too much rain would fall, and the wheat crop would be destroyed before it could properly ripen. In America, at least in 99% of America, when you have a famine, it's because of no rain. Okay, it's just a very different environment here in America for farming, and so they were farming this part of America particularly. We didn't have a Dust Bowl over here because this is much wetter, but this was sort of the great, Oklahoma. What's this? Without names in some of these states, I know this is Oklahoma, Nebraska, whatever. But showing off my ignorance. But this part of America, they were farming very much as they did in Europe, and there was a drought, and it just turned into a Dust Bowl, and you can see there's some good documentaries on it, and it was just god-awful terrible. And so it wasn't just people losing their farms, it was regions almost literally, you could say, became unlivable, and the people that were living there were literally living with wet rags or like handkerchiefs over their mouths all day, all night, because the dust was that bad as a filter to keep the dust out to survive. And people died. Lots and lots of people died from just over time inhaling too much particle dust. It was just god awful. Now they figured out the problems won't happen again. They plant rows of trees in between farm fields and other kinds of things like that, and they manage it much different now so that they keep growing, and they won't have that happen. But the Dust Bowl happened in conjunction with the Great Depression, and so it was just god awful. So having some government programs to feed the needy, okay, that kind of thing, that is one thing, to feed the needy. I am not arguing against, I'm not saying the government should always do nothing. I am not a purist, okay, on any ideology. I'm not a purist. I'll generally, like I've said just a few minutes ago, the Democrats are too wedded to their ideology of equal justice for money situations, income inequality. There is income inequality is a good thing. I praise income inequality. I praise the super rich. I only worry about, as like I'm saying, is not income inequality, but are there people starving? Now, the U.S., whatever, can't feed the damn world. We just can't. Not without militarily conquering it. So, but I worry about my country. You should worry, if you're in another country, worry about your country. I am concerned about people starving to death. So I'm not a purist on capitalism or anything else. But generally capitalism is the best way, and the more you go away from capitalism, the worse it is. But a safety net. So had FDR just done a safety net for the people who, were starving to death or would be starving to death, there was very little of it. Much more of the dust causing death than other things, because there were soup kitchens. There was programs to pay for it. That is not the problem. Doing something is not the problem. It was over-regulation. And what they did to the point, and there were farming regulations that literally, and I don't know, pick a state, Pennsylvania, some person who had a sort of backyard farm that literally sold in a small town. If anybody wants to look this up and either prove me wrong or get the right things, was farming like carrots or something like that, and selling it at the little, corner farmers market in this small town. Was ordered by the federal government, no, you can't do this way, whatever it was. And it went to the Supreme Court. And the federal government argued that under the Constitution, that it gets to regulate interstate commerce. And that's what it says. It says the federal government can regulate interstate commerce. They, under FDR and putting the right people on the court, got us go, well, this little home farm, because this was sort of a test case, that's why the government continued to pursue it, really affects interstate commerce, because that they're selling carrots in this town means that they're not importing carrots from some other state or whatever it was. And so right now, because of this test case, we have so many federal regulations, and they're not necessarily even approved by our Congress, but they're made by these agencies that regulate internal things like that. Before this came out, unless a good went from this state to this state, the federal government could say absolutely nothing to it. So if you could have a child's toy that would, if a child holds this, it will guarantee you to poke a child's eye out, the federal government could do nothing if it was only sold in one state. Now, of course, the state government could go, hey, this is a dangerous toy, should not be sold for children, okay? Or this product, if you drink it, wonder medicine, drink it. Okay, yeah. Oh, you die if you drink it. Well, the federal government before couldn't do anything about it. Now, the state government could do something about it. The states could have their regulations. Now, if you made it in Pennsylvania and sold that in New York, the federal government could do something about it because it went across state lines. But if your business was small enough and only affected in one state, it was up to state regulations. So I hope you can tell the difference here, and I know I'm preaching a bit. I'm not trying to say you should have sell poison for people to drink it. Now, of course, it probably won't mean instant die, but over enough time give you cancer or something. Or I'm not for toys that put kids' eyes out and whatever, or even more minor injuries. I'm not against sensible regulations. It's the federal government regulating is what I'm against, because it's this goddamn freaking big USA. It's not Pennsylvania. And as Pennsylvania sees a problem, changes its regulations, all the other states can monitor it and go, hey, this is going to be a problem coming to my state too, and this is working out well in Pennsylvania. Let's adopt it in my state. But maybe they'll realize that it works well in Pennsylvania, whatever regulation it may be, but it won't work well in Texas, because maybe it's water regulations or whatever it is. So this is where the federal government takes over, and under FDR regulates the country and the economy so much. This isn't about providing food or any other needed support for people that are going through a traumatic situation. Paying for all that might require higher tax rates. The 90% is insane, people, and the 90% was mainly to try to, because unlike in Germany, there was no inflation, there was actually deflation, meaning things were getting cheaper. Money was becoming more valuable. But it was an attempt to regulate the economy, to partially ideological, partially to suck the money out of the economy and into the government. But so 90% taxing on anything. When it sort of continued, and I think the tax rate got a little worse during World War II, that was also to suck the money out of the economy, because if all the car manufacturers are all making trucks, and somebody having the money burning their hole in their pocket, I know I've talked about this in Germany, to buy a car because they're working in a truck plant and they want to buy a car. There's no cars for sale. They want to suck that money out of the economy and all that. But so there was maybe valuable reasons but 90% even in the wartime is stupid. Maybe 60 or 70% in the wartime, but that's debatable. But before the war, yes, I'm not saying to deal with the Great Depression, which it was both the sort of stock market crash and other economic problems that made things a lot worse. It was also the Dust Bowl that happened at the same time that didn't happen in the first post-World War I Depression. That happened. That there wasn't a need to have some government programs. Now, and again, in my viewpoint is the federal government shouldn't be running the Feed the Poor program for Oklahoma. They might go, oh, here's a bunch of money, Oklahoma, you run your own program, okay? Or here's a bunch of food, because we're buying up food in Pennsylvania where it's not a problem, and we're shipping it out, on trains to Oklahoma. You feed your people, Oklahoma. You figure out how best to do your thing instead of the national program. That's my ideology. More local, better. But like I say, I'm not a purist. There are reasons for the Great Depression that needed government help for people, but it was hugely overregulated. Okay, back off of my diatribe on the depression and everything else. And but this is sort of real dealing with that GM Motors thing and what's going on at the time. Okay, yes, you can have supplies, supplies. What? Oh, motor. Okay. Okay, so we got that now. And no, it's this one. We're going to stop that. Okay, Romania. We give them, okay, we've gotten to the green. Seaport capabilities have advanced. That's very nice. We're going to stop that one. Okay, now we're looking back to being... And yes, this is going to be... I'm going to hurt some more, but yes. Now we're getting a few more of these divisions. I always feel that I'm not building enough. Whether it's the radars that I want to start building to have bigger and better impact, or whether it's the seaport, and we just defected. So increase 0.2% in money and resources, which is very good, and that's why I did that. Because even though it's costing us to upgrade, I give money. No, not from Brazil. Okay. Also from units of the Third Reich. The Fourth Weller. Yes. Okay. Were those? Okay. Well, a lot more division HQs have just shown up. A lot more. We've got enough. Well, I don't know how many we're going to build, but we've got lots of HQ, divisional HQs showing up. We don't need to build any, looks like for a long time, standard divisions. HQs. Okay. Okay, TAC ground crew training is approved. That's very good. We have lots and lots of TAC. And because I want to move stuff to other things, I'll leave the pilot still. Yes, we just showed it too, did it? Yeah. Okay, we want to get through some of these ground units. Okay. Mobile unit. Okay, we've hit 39. This is the other mobile unit training. And armored unit command and control units. Okay. Yeah, also 39, so we're going to stop that. For now. We'll be back. Okay, like I was talking earlier on, I believe that this specific event happens because we've downgraded the Czech forts. We can break these guns up for scrap, but we want the metal, but yeah, I want that metal badly, but I'd rather have the guns. Some old Czech heavy artillery. So I think that shows up. Yeah. Let's do it this method. Should be at the bottom of that. Old Czech artillery. Okay, oh, we still have to, yeah, should have shown up maybe a bit better organized. I think they're making us pay for the manpower, not giving us free manpower. Garrison unit and some heavy artillery. Okay, Marine divisions. Form them as reserve. Ask again in 45. Okay, yes, and as I do sort of know about war is inevitable, we need forces capable of doing naval invasion should we form the Marine divisions staffs for. Historically, the naval divisions were formed in 1945 from the Kriegsmarine personnel no longer required to cruise ships or shore establishments. If you buy your naval marine infantries from other nations like Japan, you should select reserve options. Forming them in 1935 will have a high cost for a naval organization. You can refuse taking them now and then. Okay, nah, I don't know. There was some naval unit or naval infantry formed from crews from ships that were sunk up in the Narvik thing or invasion. Really like that image. That's well done. That's basically what it was: is give sailors rifles, but a lot of sailors did have basic training. We'll form them as a reserve. Okay, let's take a look at these guys. Okay, so they're just the HQs. That's what I was thinking. But so we have some. We want to form the HQ or Marine units. We have some cool HQs to put in there. Now we've shifted. We've canceled a lot of units there, but we want to now start doing some of these. 39. Oh, rocket artillery, yes. Yeah, push it. Well, let's cancel that for the moment. Okay. Can we find steel from anybody? Ooh, usefully large units? Oh, the Soviet Union has a bunch of steel. Okay. Okay. I really, really, really want to build this up really fast here. Give it a day or so to kick in. Yeah, now we're at that. Just because I think we're going to hit another West Wall event coming soon, and it's going to eat up even more of the steel. What's this? Air bases event, yeah. Major planning phase, okay. Okay, start, yeah. That basically randomly gives us big stack of air bases somewhere. Okay. Cruiser fire control systems. And that's grayed out. Okay, good. Well, since let's do like yes. That can go down. That can go down just a little bit, of course. Okay, here what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the needed and then up a little bit. Yes. Yes. Damn. No, Costa Rica is too small of a ship. I don't want to waste a ship on it. Yes, Hungary. Okay, anti-Comintern pact for Hungary. Like I've said earlier on, they were one of the sort of founding instigators of the anti-Comintern pact, but for one reason or another didn't sign up when it first happened. So this is our opportunity for them to sign up, and we'll get them in. Obviously it upsets relations with a few countries, but helps us. Now this doesn't get them into the Axis, this just makes them appear more likely to be in the Axis, along with everything else that's going on, like the earlier Vienna awards that gave them the territory and everything else. So of course we could have been influencing, you know, the nations here and trying to get them to do it that way as well, and you can do so. I just don't do that too much right now because I'm, you know, been researching texts and trying to get officers up to a good standard, so I go with that as being a bit more important. But yes, we would like to have you as part of the Axis. And they said yes. Good. So now we've got another partner. And that helps. Okay, air superiority tactics. Good. 39. Okay, well, not that we won't be back to that, but let's go look at, well, rocket artillery. Okay, armory unit training. I think that is going to be, yep, 39, so we'll cancel that and see where we want to shift. Heavy guns, yes, we want to move towards those flak 88s. Okay, this was, I thought was interesting here, and I hope this works right. May or may not, I don't know. Chiang Wei-kuo. He is the adopted son of Chiang Kai-shek. He was sent to Germany for training and education. He spoke German, at least for sure during this time. He earned the one of the high it probably says somewhere in here. He thus earning the achieved Gebirgsjäger Edelweiss sleeve insignia. He earned that through that training. He also went through Panzer School training, and for the invasion of Czechoslovakia, which turned out to be a non-combat invasion, but it was still the invasion that went on, you know, peaceful occupation. But for that, he commanded, I believe it was a tank platoon. This is just a very fancy NCO's uniform, but you can see him here with some major or somebody else. He was treated like an officer, even though he did not hold any higher command rank, but he was given command of a platoon for the invasion, and did that as a German officer. and that lanyard is a marksmanship lanyard, and I do believe he earned that as well. Meaning, I believe he qualified for them, and he, so he wasn't just given out as special. Okay, so this, okay, well, maybe I ought to look at this. It's supposed to remove, I'm pretty sure it's there. I'm pretty damn sure it's there. But maybe the coding is wrong or something in that. But it's supposed to remove, I think he's a level 2. Better reassign a bunch of those SA officers with the redoing of the OOP there. Thinking I'm going to spot the Chinese officer symbol here, so I'm just trying to scan it quickly. Obviously he's not a general level, but I just put him in here for the fun of it. Oh, I didn't see it there. So it should have a unique symbol here for the unique for Germany, not unique overall, but a bunch of Chinese officers should have the symbol. Oh, that's missing his photo. Pretty sure it's one of mine. Well, I know it's not important, but let's just... Well, maybe it's already gone? Don't think so. But he's in there somewhere. I put him as an officer. And, also he should be an officer in China as well. Basically, he goes back, he gets recalled because of continuing closer relations between Japan and Germany. He gets recalled back to China. Basically, he stays in Chongqing with which this looks like they're about ready to lose that. With Chiang Kai-shek, and never given any sort of field command. I gave him some decent stats because of his training. I think, well, I don't know. I don't know whether it was Chiang Kai-shek thought of him as a threat, meaning if he goes out and becomes too popular, he could overthrow his adopted father, or whether it was he was a trusted aide, and in the sort of Byzantine world of the Chinese government and army, having a trusted aide monitoring the military situation close at hand, managing it there was maybe more important. I don't know, but he was never given any field commands. Was made a general or whatever, and then ended up in Taiwan and doing a bunch of stuff there as well. Interesting thing. I just thought, okay, now we can appoint Colonel General Ernst Udet to I'm just looking for the exact to the Air Ministry here. He's old member of the Flying Circus, World War I, a masterful pilot. I saw a photo of him doing a some sort of and I think it was in the U.S. He traveled over here quite a bit, doing some sort of dive maneuver, and with his wing and something attached, like pick up something just like a few feet off the ground, like 5-6 feet off the ground with the wing of his aircraft, like a handkerchief from a pole or something like that, diving in and doing it. No, it was, I just saw the still from it. It was spectacular. He was a spectacular pilot. By this time, he's uh, too old to be a fighter pilot, though he'd probably be better than half of the fighter pilots. But we can appoint him to be Director General of Equipment, or leave him in the Luftwaffe. Now, if we do that, let's go to politics, Air Force. Where is he? Where is he? Is it armaments? Could be. Is, yeah. You notice this has gotten a little bigger. We now have Yodel as well as Beck there. I'm just somehow not seeing him there, or is it? I know I could go look at the files, but not here, is it? Overall command. Now that he's here in some capacity, or maybe he's just not available at the moment. That could be. We keep him, give him a little float. We're going to do that this time. Because let's these two on Kesselring, Keller. I want to see how this works out. If he's currently assigned to any of these, and it may not be these that he's removed from. Be down in the Luftwaffe section. Sorry, it's taking a bit of time, but I want to just see. This isn't. Oh no, this is my event, but that's what I want to see. But I didn't add him anywhere. But I want to see how this works. Just testing it out. I'm calling this mod testing at the moment. Okay, it looks like he's assigned somewhere, because I don't see him here in a ground capacity. Well, where would he be? Keller, did I just skip him before? I might have. Kesselring, which eventually I do want to move him back to better combat role. Sparrow. Sparrow again. I collected the same thing. Xander there. Okay, he's not there. But I know we have him as a let's go to there to oh, well, maybe we... Well, Milk got fighter. Richthofen got bomber. Let's look. Bomber. Okay, Udet, yeah. Okay, so Udet currently light bomber down here. Okay. Okay. Let's give him the Luftwaffe. Okay, he doesn't disappear there. Okay, but I don't know if he was just not available or was looking in the right place. But what I do believe is he won't be available for, and maybe it's later in the game that he gets available. We won't have him for a minister. So, and since we won't see it, Udet was, I think at heart a good guy. He obviously got involved with the Nazis. I don't know that he was such a Nazi. I don't think he was. That doesn't mean he wasn't anti-Semitic. That doesn't mean he didn't support the Nazis and making Germany great again, as it were, or something like that. But, you know, he traveled around the U.S. For a while and other things. He gets that job at the Air Ministry is in charge of the equipment procurement and hates it. Basically thinks he's doing absolutely no good. And as the war progresses, and I think it's 43, maybe 42, I don't know, right around there, he shoots himself in his office. And we know he does shoot himself because he's on the phone, I think maybe to his mistress or something like that at the time. He shoots himself. I don't know what was going on in his mind, but I can guess. He sees the air war being badly mishandled, and he is stuck at a desk and can't really do anything about it as he sees it. So he sees what he thinks is a badly mishandled air war, but also a badly mishandled war that I think he sees Germany going to lose and knows that he doesn't want to be part of that. I also think maybe at his position he's getting enough knowledge of what's going on with the final solution, quite possibly, even though they're trying to keep that under wraps, but that does, within the high command of most of the armed forces, to one degree or another, that's known. It may not, the scale and whatever else may not be known, but you know, obviously I've talked earlier about the euthanasia programs and everything else. I think it was known. They've talked about how well some of the officers, you know, when talking with some of the officers that, you know, majors, colonels, captains, then that had been serving in the East in the early parts of the Russian invasion, talking with officers who hadn't, about the firing squads that the SS Einsatzgruppen are doing and other things that are going on. And I think it was widely known of the units but not talked about going on in the East, so I think it filters up to him. So I think the immorality of what's going on, again, I think that's in his mind, but I think it's also as much or more that the war is going to be lost and he just couldn't be part of it anymore, and he couldn't do anything to make it better, like command a squadron. But he hated the administrative job in the first place, so he hated that. But I don't think that was, and I don't think his mistress caused him to commit suicide or anything like that being found out. That might have ended his marriage, but I don't think that was going to do any major harm to him or anything like that. So I think it was just he couldn't deal with the trauma of the war going on and his responsibilities as part of it, and so he commits suicide. So since we don't have the events doing that, talking about it. So I figured that had he been out in the field fighting the war, he wouldn't have committed suicide. Might have died in the war, but wouldn't have committed suicide. That's my speculation on it. We would give them money for raw materials. No. Okay. This goes into something that we are going to see a bit more about going on. Is the sort of, I don't know, almost fetish maybe that the Nazis and Hitler had with art. This is Udet now, bi-monthly magazine, published in Linz, which obviously had formerly been part of Austria. One of the various publications dealing with the art scene. So we got some supplies to publish a magazine, but improve our popularity and descent and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm hoping. Let's see, Netherlands. They have surplus of 6.8. Hoping they're stockpiling all this surplus of rare materials in Amsterdam that we'll be able to go in and conquer and take it. I'm hoping for some of that. Again, we still have just over 3,000, though I don't like the idea of the slow burn on it, but okay, reinforce the 7th Fleet Division. Okay, so we have it. I know we have it. It's just for yours and mine. Knowledge we can check here. Not too many other units. I'll have a general in charge of it by the name of Student. Okay, so it's the HQ plus 2 paratrooper units. Brigades. Okay. Field Herrenhalle joins the 7th Flieger. Okay. So remove that and give us another. Make sure it's... yeah, damn. Okay, well. Wished it wouldn't have done that. Because I'm running a surplus on supplies, I'd rather just take a supply hit and put it onto the map. Okay, installation security advanced. Good. But we're going to stop that for the moment. And tactical air command has advanced. That's good. I think we're going to be shifting to something else. We got lots and lots of attack bombers, mediums and lights. We're not motorizing the cavalry because I want to keep it non-fuel using. It's part of the reason I want cavalry, is just so we don't use the fuel. We still have a fairly mobile type element. Okay, so we're going to do single engine fighter prototypes. Get that going. We have a little bit more, so let's do flying. Okay, this is that installation security. Barbed wire. Okay, so we get to talk about barbed wire. Hey, not sure how that affects us in the game, but good. Okay, well, we've become a land power, so we have enough brigades to become a land power. So that organization rate and land organization improves. That's good. Okay, the 1939 Berlin Automobile Show. Great. Poster ticket from it. Bulgaria. We don't want fuel. I want to look at the production. Okay, well, we'll get our steel soon. We're going to keep importing some. I want to get it up more than what it is. Getting these good. Okay, we're now into some of these, fully into that. Good. Okay. Let's move Eisenhower just because it's a smaller cost by about 10 ICs up there. Good. Okay. Okay. We give them money for rare materials. No, thank you. We'll just steal yours. Okay, secure the cities. This is sort of what I was fearing. Oh God. Again, that's way too high for both energy and metal. This is a big project, but I just, because before some of this stuff in, I just never had anybody had any problems, and it was 10 times as high. Well, a lot of times it was maxing out in coal and steel, so I've overdone that. So I've got to go in and reduce all of those for the next update. And yeah, we're going to do another update. So if you know how to build an event, you can build an event. I'll consider it. I'm probably not... event ideas are great, and I do like them, and a few of you are actively giving me them. And please do continue. Best to do it on the Hearts of Iron 4, or just the Hearts of Iron forum. The Paradox forum can be for the 3 or the 4. It doesn't matter. But new events probably mostly are going to be for Hearts of Iron 4 that I've got to build. But if you have the skills, but you've got to got to be good. He's got to have checks for things. Some people that help me out very much with events just sort of presume that the player is going to play historical, and we've got to check for things like that. Like a serious check would be: are you at war? War or peace? Because this has a war. If you're at war, this doesn't happen. Because presumably you're out building tanks and artillery pieces and not building fortresses. That may sound silly at the war, but but I figure it's a more immediate thing. So, have checks for controlling particular land parts or whatever, and things like that. So yeah. Damn. We go negative there. So it'll go to 0, so all that we built up. It's still just February, so I want, because I've been doing the, we're the damn red, because this stuff is zeroed out, is probably why that's happening. Okay, football match. Schleswig-Holstein. On the way back from the Latin America, or Caribbean because it was both Latin America and some of the islands. Caribbean trip, we send off the Schleswig-Holstein. It stops in Falmouth. England, and has a football match with the Duke of Cornwall's light infantry. I'm not right off sure, maybe I could tell when it blew up, which colors were German, and because they're interspersed, the two teams for this photo, which are German and which are the English. So the stops has a port visit in Falmouth there and a football match. So a bit of fraternizing between in this case it was the Army and the Navy. Okay, come on. Another day to click over. Yeah, there we go. Now we'll have some. Okay. I think that's the last big hit I give for steel and coal. Yeah, Turkey, yes. Okay, interception tactics. I'm playing through this and not modding this and going back because I'm playing the same game basically you're sort of playing now, but there will be an update version. I've, like I said, now committed to it. Interception efficiency. Again, if it's really easy for me to add an event or two and I think they're good, there's no guarantees, of course, because I may not like them, the event, or I just may not do it just because I end up not adding events. I don't know. But if you're interested, because I know a few of you I've worked with before, do follow the channel. Of course, new people, but just I know I'm talking to one or two of you on other platforms, but I don't want it to just be through YouTube. A couple of reasons, but it's so easy for you to change your name and your profile on YouTube to different names, and then a few of you have, you know me by some name, but I know you well, the Paradox Forum, though I'll use your name now. Waynehead, I noticed, had recently changed his name back to Waynehead. It was something else, and so if I don't, where Paradox, once you set a name, you don't get to change it. So little more sure of who you are and who I'm dealing with, if you know what I mean, by going through that. And we also need to increase supplies. I want a big cushion, partially for selling supplies to earn money, but also just to have a cushion. And that kind of thing, and that's one of the reasons why I don't insist, but it's best to do it over the Paradox forums for me. And it's also easier for me to keep track of stuffs there. But so I'm going to do at least one more update. Again, like I say, I don't know if we're doing any new content, but these values are just, I don't mean them. I meant them to be high when you're sitting there with 99999 going across for coal and energy. And trust me, there were many games of Black Ice I played that with that going on. And just a normal. So the 10% hit of the hard Black Ice doesn't not account for not maxing out. And I think I always maxed out on coal and eventually steel, but it was never an issue. So that's why I made the big super hits. Just not to make it a big issue, but just sort of make it something that happened and you noticed it. And it's just not now. Okay, this episode has gone on too long already. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I really do appreciate that. It helps, and of course really helps is post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.